So today, we're going to break down a really powerful idea, a blueprint for hitting your biggest academic goals. We're looking at a framework from Ansar Robotics that shows what happens when a learning plan is built from the ground up, completely for you.
But first, let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a class or in a program and just had that sinking feeling that you're following a script that wasn't written for you, a plan that just doesn't get who you are or where you're actually trying to go?
Yeah, it's a super common feeling. You're driven, you've got these huge goals, but you end up in this one-size-fits-all system that kind of ignores your personal history and, more importantly, your final destination.
But what if we could just flip that whole script? Well, that's exactly the approach from Ansar Robotics that we're digging into. They call it the personal blueprint. And it's this idea where your ambitions aren't just tacked on at the end. No, they are the actual foundation of the entire curriculum.
And this right here, this sums up their whole philosophy perfectly. It's not about trying to squeeze a student into some pre-made box. It's about taking your specific goals, your story, your dreams, and using all of that as the architectural plans to build the perfect learning structure right around you.
So, how does this actually work? Well, it's a three-step process, and it's all rooted in what feels like real, genuine care. It all kicks off with a deep assessment, where they actually stop and listen to your story. Then, they move to custom curriculum design, literally building your path from scratch. And finally, it's intensive mentorship. They're not just pointing the way, they're walking that path with you.
Look, theory is great and all, but seeing it in action? That's way better. So let's make this real. Let's meet Sylvia. She's a perfect example of how this personalized approach works.
So Sylvia has this fascinating background, right? She was a journalist in China, and now she's pursuing media studies at a top-tier university. Her goals are super clear. She wants to absolutely crush it in her program and get a top score on the IELTS exam, which, if you know, is a notoriously tough international English test, because that's what's going to open up all the doors for her future.
Now, this is what I find so interesting, the level of detail in their assessment. A generic course would just say, okay, you need to work on your writing. But look what they found. They pinpointed this really specific, subtle conflict. Sylvia's brain was wired for journalism. Fast-paced, just the facts, using shorthand. But academic writing, especially for the IELTS, needs a totally different mindset. It's got to be analytical, structured, formal. So the key is, they didn't just spot the symptom, they diagnosed the root cause. And because they had that deep diagnosis, they built this. This isn't some generic, off-the-shelf syllabus. This is Sylvia's custom 10-session blueprint. And just look at how it builds so logically. It kicks off with the fundamentals, the grammar, then it moves step by step through the specific IELTS tasks. And then, this is the best part, it looks ahead to get her ready for PhD-level work. It's a complete journey designed only for her.
Okay, so let's pop the hood on this custom-built toolkit and check out some of the specific expert-level tools they gave Sylvia to help her build this new academic muscle.
All right, a cornerstone of her training was something called the PEAL method. Now, this is not just some random acronym they pulled out of a hat. It's a really powerful, structured way to write paragraphs that maps directly to what the official IELTS scorers are looking for. We're talking a pro-level tool here.
And this is where the personalization is just brilliant. Look at how they translated this new, kind of abstract academic concept into a language Sylvia already knew inside and out. The point of the paragraph? That's just her headline. The evidence? That's reporting the facts. I mean, how smart is that? They're bridging the gap between where she's been and where she wants to go. It respects her existing skills while building powerful new ones.
And here's the result. Boom! This is a point sentence from one of her essays. It is strong, it is clear, and it is 100% academic. That is the kind of clarity you get when you have a solid framework to build on.
But here's the thing, the blueprint wasn't just about passing one exam. No, it was designed with her biggest ambition in mind, getting ready for a PhD. So they started layering in these higher-level strategies to set her up for that next massive step in her journey.
Here is a perfect example. It seems like a small shift, right? Going from the personal, I think, to the objective, academic voice of, it is often argued. But man, that one little change instantly boosts the authority and the formal tone of her writing. It's a total game changer.
Another killer tool was the vocabulary journal. So instead of just reaching for a simple word like big, she was trained to build this mental library of more sophisticated options, like substantial, significant, or considerable. It's all about deliberately expanding her linguistic toolkit for any situation.
So you might be wondering, how long does this kind of deep transformation take?
Just 3 months. Yeah, this isn't some long drawn-out process. It's an intense, focused partnership that's all about delivering real, tangible results and doing it efficiently.
So we've walked through Sylvia's entire journey, from that initial core challenge to the specific tools and ultimately the amazing results. Now, let's zoom back out and think about what this could mean for you, or for anyone with a big academic dream.
And that's really what it all boils down to, isn't it? What this model represents is something way more than just a class or a tutoring service. It's a real partnership, one that actually invests the time to understand you on a deep level, so they can craft a path that is uniquely and powerfully yours.
And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. We've seen Sylvia's blueprint, born from her past as a journalist and aimed at her future as a scholar. So the question for you is, what would your blueprint for success look like?